sure what I was doing. Alright, check this out. Yep, you can get people when the sword returns. I like that. Also, there is a height limit, and it's not very high, that knocking enemies out of will kill them, but you have no such limit. I guess you've trained long and hard in the arts or whatever. Okay, so here is the 4th level. This is the soldier, and we introduce mines. The deal with mines is if you end a turn or if you land on the surface within the red area, the mine goes off and it's an insta-death. The soldier also wants you to think about your environment. You can just charge straight in, but that's very difficult, if not impossible. If you saw that little roof overhang there and you took it, then you can set up this absolute beauty of a scenario. So there was a stab and a bump, and a teleport. All the mines are cleared, all the guys are taken down with only 2 swings of the sword. The soldier's levels are probably tied with my favorite. I really like the end levels too, but as you progress in this game, and the levels get more and more complicated, the solutions to them get more kind of elegant in a way. Here, you might think it's a soldier coming out of here and wait around to catch him, but no, it's a civilian, so you want to run away. And when you start to get these like fun, elegant solutions to levels, I don't know, I just find that to be a lot of fun. They really become puzzles to put together, and sure, the first couple times you play through, you're going to be dying a lot. I saw the laser coming at me there, which is how I knew to jump behind the guy and warp to the back one, in the hopes that his body would knock over the other guy. Fortunately, he was close enough to do so. One thing that I think I've mentioned before, though, is if you're able to get behind somebody, then even if they have their gun drawn and they've got a bead on you, they take a turn to turn around, and that can be all the time you need sometimes. Now, if somebody's got their back to you, there's really no way you don't just knock them out of the window like that. It's fun that there's 2 ways through this level, and in fact, I think the top way is a bit safer. A lot of times I'm going to be taking the less safe route through a level, and that is so that I can do it with speed. We're sitting at about halfway through right now, and we've just started the 4th of 5 bosses. However, levels, as I say, get a lot longer as we're going through, so that's probably about right. I think we're just about on target here. I know I've had some things that didn't work out quite as well in the earlier maps, and so if I really wanted to cut time, I could go back and redo some of those, but this ought to be okay. Now, if you sword kill this guy when the samurai is facing towards you, he'll notice that and raise the alarm, so you don't want to do that. You wait till he's facing away. If you walk on the bottom, that guy on the top right notices you. Unfortunately, I forgot that he shoots out his detection laser when you break through his window there, so I get detected by him. One thing that's kind of a bummer is there are no friendly fires from most of the enemies. They can't shoot each other. However, if you knock somebody into the samurai, then he will sword them to death. Anytime you can, you want to take out a samurai not by direct conflict like that. It's way easier to stealth kill them, or to make them jump off a ledge like we have a couple times in the past. This part here can be really, really tricky unless you do one trick, and the problem is, if you don't get it, there's a checkpoint here, but the checkpoint doesn't let you do that, and that is jumping out of that light before anybody sees you. Because look, there's a neurotoxin, and in New Game Plus, you just get almost no time at all. Because remember, you have to kill everybody. Now that I'm saying this, I wonder if you could just escape and let the neurotoxin take care of everybody, but I've never done it that way. Anyway, it'd be hard to get out of here while in turn-based mode. I think you have about a second or 2 once the neurotoxin starts before you croak yourself, but it's just really not a scenario you want to be part of if you can. The checkpoints, I know you haven't seen many of them because I've been doing pretty well and not dying, but the checkpoints in this game are usually really forgiving and they don't put you in bad situations, but that's one example where the checkpoint really just doesn't work for you. If you get that checkpoint, it starts right when the guy comes out of the door and sees you right away, and believe you me, having a machine gun guard see you right at the beginning of a checkpoint and be down a hallway almost too far for you to jump is just not a good scenario to be in. I like that little touch there that you have to swing from that ceiling but you can't actually touch it. And you can see, as I've said before, that the platforming is really pretty particular in this game. So the biggest thing they can do to mess you up is to put guards a big distance away from you so that you have to do these long jumps. Oh, this is so close. Okay, that illustrates something which you really can't count on. That was bad tactics right there. And that is sometimes. Not all the time, I want to stress that, but sometimes, if you jump very quickly perpendicular to a stream of machine gun guards' bullets, and if the stream is going all in one direction, then you can actually jump through the stream. It's not like he shoots a straight line of death. The game maps the individual bullets, but boy, you don't want to count on that. So, dropping a decoy makes you jump straight up. I happen to jump right between his bullets and save myself in that way. But again, that is not a safe strategy or anything approximating it. There was probably a different way. In fact, I think I remember there was a different way of doing that. But I messed it up. A lot of small things can happen in this game and mess you up, and that's kind of what makes it fun. It's just a fun playground. Okay, I don't actually like this. If you go through the right door, then the civilians see you because you're in the light. If you try to take out that guy, then you've killed a civilian and there's a game over. You can crawl around up top, but that civilian sees you unless you take the elevator up and then take it back down, because he'll go over to investigate it, and he'll go back and he goes just slightly to the right of where he initially started out. But it's not really enough to see, obviously, and the only way you can tell is he always catches you if you don't take the elevator up and then take it back down. It wastes time, and it's not really a mechanic that's ever used again, so I'm not a fan. So here I use sort of a common tactic, which is if you jump just above somebody, these guys only get one shot per turn, and they shoot where you were, so they end up wasting their turn doing that. The one thing I really don't like about the teleport is you tend to teleport people just a little farther than what you can sword, and so unless you can get them on the way, then you've kind of teleported them out of your range of view. This is the same thing that happens, incidentally, with the samurai. You can see I jump up and then hanging in the air I go down for the kill there. That's another good tactic, more or less. Also, taking a lot of people at the same time with the warps is always a winner of a strategy. You can see people's numbers above their heads for how many turns they have until they recover, and that can be very handy to know. Also, guards are not perfect at pathing towards you. However, that's not really something you can count on. It's just, oh, that was so close. It's just that if you happen to get it, that can be a nice little bonus. So in a quick run, I really want to avoid being drawn into these long, drawn-out firefights. You can do them by just jumping around until you exhaust people, and I'm sure you've seen this by now, but guards can actually run out of bullets, which can be very handy for you. Especially, see, I would have got detected here if I hadn't tweaked him a bit with the elevator. Just a weird thing. Not a big fan of it. It's one of the few really bad design decisions in the game, though, I think. The levels are really solid. I also like the little music that plays. So again, if you had just jumped out right away, you would have got detected by the guy here. Yeah, as I was saying, guards run out of ammo as they're firing at you. The tuxedo guys have, I think, about 6 rounds. It could be a bit more than that. You can see I've incapacitated one and killed the other. That helps me warp through. One problem with the turn-based is, again, you're not really free to move very much. If he had not decided to call me in and instead taken aim, he might have been a bit more trouble. Anyway, the tuxedo guards have about 6 rounds, and the machine gun guards only have 2 sprays they can do before they have to reload. This is tricky, because normally you'd think, oh, I bet everybody's going to come pouring out of those enemy rooms as soon as I hit the console. Well, nope. They come pouring out of the enemy rooms as soon as you're near the console, which is not something that ever happens again outside of this one instance. And so they're just trying to catch you there, because you're probably going to approach it thinking that you're safe and, you know, get ready to jump as soon as you hack, or whatever it is that you do. I guess you might have like a program that you install or something, but I like to think you're just absolutely a computer wizard. Anyway, again, they're saying bonus objectives, but that's not true in New Game Plus. You must do the bonus objectives. Anyway, they try to catch you that way, and so sometimes you'll just be able to jump around, confounding the guards and staying right out of their view. Sometimes I can get on the motorcycle and get out of here. Wasn't to be this time. But this time, that's not the case. This may be my single favorite level. This one or the final level are both so intricate and fun that I just have a really good time with them. Part of what might push this one over the edge, though, is that this was really when I first started to get the game, I think, on regular New Game. I'm being a bit reckless here. I don't have to jump through and do all this stuff. I'm getting detected more. Not that that's a problem. Detection is not the same as alarms, as I'm sure you've seen. But this is a much quicker way to play the game. Anyway, I had gotten through the rest of the game all right. I mean, I had been reloading quite a bit and everything. But I was playing this level and just getting massacred, just dying time and time and time and time again. Because I was trying to jump in and just hack everybody to death. And it didn't help that my friend Ms. Bundefund was watching my broadcast and providing, shall we say, helpful commentary. But I would always jump down. I didn't really register that the ceiling was something you could jump up onto. Once up here, you can jump on top of the streetlights. Thank goodness I didn't break through that window, or else I would have attracted everybody. And you can get over to this other side, because what would happen was I would get down and I would start fighting in the center there. And the center is a big, long plain, basically. And there's not really any cover in there, and there's just a ton of guys, and then there's also the officer, who is, though he has some fancy armor, just a regular samurai. That's the same is true for every enemy except for the old man. All of them are just regular enemies with kind of a new skin on them, which I like. I like that they don't have crazy powers. I guess that the doctor has that one decoy that he uses, but other than that, he's basically the old man. He doesn't fight back. I don't know why I debate opening this door, but I do, and I don't think it matters. You can see that that height was just far enough to knock the guy to his death there. Anyway, I would jump down, and then people from both sides who were in these buildings here would start shooting at me or calling me in, like what this guy is doing. And I was a little busy not dying from all the bullets flying at me down in the center, so I really just didn't have time or the ability to get up here and deal with the people in the buildings, and that did me in, oh, I don't know, probably a dozen times, and then I got frustrated and quit for a bit, and then I came back, and I realized I started looking at the level more, and I started making absolutely sure that I did everything stealth-wise that I could possibly do before I waded in and started doing anything, you know, action-based. And again, the action works fine as long as you remember, and I think this is just part of the narrative. You're not some opposing strike team. You know, you're not a super well-funded machine gun-toting. You're not the Marine from Doom or whatever. You're probably this rogue, half-crazy agent guy with a sword. You are a Ronin in the true sense of the term. You don't have a base, you don't have funding like these guys do, so you've got to take it slowly and carefully. Notice here, as I deal with these two gave me plenty of problems. Normally I would jump down in the middle and then throw myself through that plate glass window trying to get at them, and by that time there would be 4 or 5 people aiming at me, and it would take me right down. But once you take them down, this is a much more equitable fight. You can see the officer running around down there. And I even like the story this one tells. Look how you don't see the company logo on any of the buildings, so this was apparently some rival or competitor. But it's obvious that they pulled up in their armored assault truck, got out, and just shot everybody right up. He's a mercenary or an enforcer for the company. And also, because I'm doing a lot of power kills, which are sword throws, he's not even really seeing me. The only people who detect me are ones that see the dead bodies. But because they don't see me doing it, they don't raise the alarm, and they don't see where I am. Now, I actually hit him when I'm trying to draw the sword back here, and this is me pressing space a lot as I'm doing some fancy footwork. If anybody had actually detected me over to the right, I'd be in real trouble. But fortunately, I never actually entered the light, so I get a free kill on him here, basically. And I'm up to limit break, which I did not take, fortunately, because I was in free flow mode. It didn't take me that, and it left me all my sword throws. And so here I am, with really only these 2 left by the time I get detected. And heck, you can take down 2 people in this game. That's not really a problem. In fact, the first building that I crashed into after I killed the doctor, I think had maybe 4 or 5 guys in it, and that's really about the most that you're probably able to deal with. Just because, I thought there was an exit there, I guess there's not. Just because there are so, you know, when there's that many of them, they're not all going to run out of ammo at the same time, because they'll be shooting you in sort of staggered turns, and there's just nothing for you to do. You can just dance around forever. Okay. This is level 5-1, and this is maybe the hardest level in the game, because it has another one of those darn separated by a hanging area, windowed places down here. So I've got this pathed out pretty well. So let's Let's narrate. The first thing you want to do is take out the leftmost machine gun guard. So you jump through, and the first thing is to take him out. Now, as soon as you walk over until you're at the same level as that rightmost guy, then everybody over on the right-hand side sees you. So you want to make sure the very first time you're over there, you can see the alarm started getting called in instantly was when you take him out. Now, everybody's going to start shooting at you, and so what you need is to jump on the topmost platform here very quickly. So with your first move, you leap halfway across the gap, bring yourself up with your grapple line, and then once they all lose you, they start calling you in, but who even cares? Because by this point, once you've taken out everybody on top, the game is pretty much over. I'm avoiding using my warp power because sometimes I think it's just a little unreliable for these stealthy situations like this. And when I'm holding down space in the way that I am, there you can see I did not use the warp and elected instead to use the sword. And I do like throwing people out of windows. That's just fun for me. It just goes a lot better for me. Anyway, I really should have hit that terminal there. That probably cost me about 30 seconds because I have to go back for it later, which is a shame, but what are you going to do? That was the hardest part of the level, and that will absolutely kill you if you don't know what you're doing and have a good path worked out. And this bit down here is quite a bit harder too. I said before that about 5 people is the most that you can reasonably handle, and that's pretty true. It's not impossible that I would have died there, actually. Warping right in front of these machine gun guards sometimes doesn't go well. You saw that that machine gun guy over to the right fired 2 bursts, and he is now basically exhausted. So while he is spending his time reloading, I can jump over below him. He has that big sweep, but doesn't quite get over to me. Notice the guy on the left, instead of firing, has decided to call me in, which is really a lifesaver. It does mean that I have to deal with him, but that's what the warp is for. Now I jump up and stab down, and that's pretty much it. Now you saw that I left a decoy over there on the left side. That was first to avoid getting shot to death by all the machine gun guys, but it also has a separate, also very useful use here. Because sure enough, as soon as you hit that, more guys come out. That is, if you remember, you can warp to the ones you've placed before, so you can use that to get around rooms like that. Otherwise, I would have been caught by that light in the center. That bottom leftmost room there is probably the only unavoidably super dangerous part of this level. There is a much slower way to do this, where you actually end up taking the elevator down into this part, which is much safer. But again, that elevator takes forever, so we won't be using it to go up or down. Just because the speed of the elevators isn't really adjustable. There's nothing you can really do. I think these mines are meant to keep you from going this way, but man, they just make it more attractive to me. I actually would have gone in and gone kamikaze in that room if I had broken the window, but I know a more surefire way to take out everybody here, so I'm using that. It's also fun because you get to see a guard not really using his head, as is going to come up here in a minute. One frustrating thing is you can't stealth kill people if they are right below one of those skylights, or if they're below any glass surface or anything like that. See, it takes a full 3 turns to kill one of these guys the hard way. I probably could have had him dash himself to death out of the window there. And this is a shame. I wanted to go for that, but it just barely bounced off of him. But that's fine. We can pull ourselves up here and deal with him the other old-fashioned way. And the old warping somebody out of a window into a mine is always super satisfying. Getting around and sneaking and even fighting and killing in this game is just really satisfying. I died a whole bunch, like I said, the first time I played it. Fortunately, you can crawl just a little bit faster, or at least at the same speed as those laser eyes go. And again, this is another example of this would have been a really, really tough corridor if you just go down through it the regular way and don't deal with people this way. Now here I should have jumped up to the top left, I think, and gotten out of that tuxedo guard's field of view, because then I would have been close to that machine gun guy when he came out. I couldn't do the old trick of jumping up slightly above the tuxedo guy and jumping down because his spread would have killed me. I had to wait until he exhausted himself firing at my decoy. And see, now I kind of catch on to the thing to do and jump up into that until he loses me. Notice he fires his entire thing. Normally he gets 2 turns of firing, but when you're in free flow, they just shoot all their bullets. Anyway, that's that. That is everything hacked, and probably, if it wasn't for some weird stuff in the final level, then that would make this the hardest level. But because the final level has a few quirks to it, it actually gets the hardest level designation, I guess. This level you also want to path out. I mean, it's not exactly a cakewalk, but I don't know, to me, it's more stealth-based. It's sort of enforced stealth-based, I think. And so, I mean, not that I didn't use a lot of stealth on the other level, but I had the big kamikaze brawls. Just the fewer people you can deal with stealth-wise, and the bigger brawls you have, the harder a level is. I mean, you saw I had to deal with basically everybody that was in the bottom levels. And I could use more stealth on the right-hand side, but, well. I'm actually, sometimes he doesn't come out, but I think there were gunshots too close to his door, and so he decided to come out and see who was on his lawn, or whatever. Okay, here's another fun stealth part. You can see the civilians over there, so you don't want to get in a fight. What you want to do is lure the samurai over with sounds of hacking, and stealth kill him while he's up there. And similarly, you don't want to get into a fight with this guy, because they'll see it and call you in, and that'll be game. Instead, you just kind of give them a little accident. I like how they fly with their hands up. They just whoops. That's how they go. So as I say, I mean, this could have been trickier, but it just was enforced stealth. Now there's a terminal and a whole bunch of enemy doors, so if you're thinking, then you're going to break all of the windows beforehand, just because you don't want to attract any attention. Sure enough, somebody comes out of everyone, and boy, I really had some bad RNG here. One thing that I kinda don't like is, it is random who comes out of enemy doors. Sometimes it's a machine gun guy, and sometimes it's a tuxedo guy. And especially in New Game Plus, the difference in difficulty between those two enemy types is just so stark. I want him facing away before I do a stealth kill, or else he would have found me there. As it is, I'm found by this tuxedo guard, but he takes a turn getting ready anyway, so he can get stuffed. Anyway, the difference between the two of those is so stark that it's really just night and day difference. I'm thinking here especially of the first boss level with the old man. There's a section in the end of that. See if somebody, see somebody getting caught when they laser look at you. There's a section after you fought the old man. Right before you get out, there's 2 samurai and then a bunch of random guards coming out of enemy doors. And it's possible, I've seen it, where they're all machine gun guards, and I think it's actually, it's real near impossible to do it if they're all machine gun guards. Sometimes those lasers kind of glitch out. There's a few glitches in the game, even now that it's out of early access. I've caught a few. Nothing particularly onerous or anything like that. Yeah, I can't resist the old knock him into the laser. Lasers again are instant death, just like the power lines were. Anyway, there's a couple of glitches that I found, and almost all of them have to do with when you're pressing spacebar and jumping around all the time, and then using your grappling hook. But some of them, well, see, look, I almost get caught here, so I'm really holding down spacebar and just doing as much pinpoint precision as I can. You can't grapple onto ledges, so I actually caught the area right under the ledge there. And sometimes you can rocket yourself through a window. I've seen that glitch. Look at this. You get neurotoxin again when you set that one off, but you get like 20 seconds. I think maybe they don't adjust the time for this one. Whew, that was close. I needed to hit him on my first jump, and so the fact that I was able to do that really saved that for me. Anyway, you could go all the way through the level again, but you really should just take this elevator up. Even the fact that they stop playing the music in these later levels is kind of a neat touch to me. It just shows that, you know, you're out of... they play the music if you're in what would be a public building, but not if you're in a private lab like this. I'm not sure deploying neurotoxin after a big countdown is an effective safety measure. But, anyway, I was talking about glitches. Sometimes, and this hasn't happened very often, but it's kind of funny to me when they do, but sometimes if you do a stealth kill on somebody, and maybe you're right on a corner or something like that, the rope won't attach to the ceiling correctly, and they'll be attached to, like, a ceiling a few floors above you. And so, I mean, it stings because you have to end the level because they all of a sudden see a body and they call in an alarm, but, whatever, it's funny. Anyway, that level wasn't as tricky to me, but this is the final level. One thing I don't like is there are 3 things that are different with this level that really radically change how it's played. We'll only see 2 of them, but I'll tell you about all 3, but they don't actually tell you about any of them, which is just, it's really weird. The first one, and I like how they give you this long elevator ride. It's like, yep, you're going to have to deal with all this. The first one is that there are no checkpoints in this level besides here. If you die, you appear right back here at the start. And again, I've got this pathed out. I've got a particular way that I want to handle this level. And it's relatively safe. You hold down spacebar here so that nobody manages to get any time in between these stabbings, and you can go super fast. Anyway, that's the first one. No checkpoints, and that's fine. That's just a challenge for the final level. The second one is that if you're hit with a bullet, it's not an instant kill like it is in all other levels. Instead, you get a countdown till death, and I think it might start at 8 or 9. I think 9 for some reason. And this again is, of course, in the final level, one of those, two areas connected by glass windows. And oh my heavens, look at all these bullets. This is so nuts. The decoys are absolutely necessary here. Anyway, the countdown from 9 goes, and when you reach 0, you die. Every time you're hit by a bullet, I would have died there if I hadn't warped. Every time you're hit by a bullet, the countdown decreases by 1, and every time you kill somebody, the countdown increases back to 9. So you can actually just kamikaze your way through the level, killing people to restore the timeout. That's interesting, and they don't tell you about it, but it's pretty obvious. The third thing they don't tell you about in this, notice the bump and then the stab, letting me do a nice little warp out the window there. That's pretty much necessary for this section. Anyway, the third thing they don't tell you about is that nobody will call you in this level. You saw that people on the left-hand side there must have seen me when I was killing everybody on the right-hand side. Heck, they were firing at me. And usually in a level, that would have been the kiss of death. There's no way I could have cleared everybody out in time. And again here, he's going to get down and be, look, I get seen by somebody in the bottom left row. But once I'm out of sight, I'm just out of mind. Now I don't know why he turns around there, but I'm glad he does. Anyway, my only thought for that is maybe this is the last place the company has, or whatever it is. I'm assuming it's a company. Maybe there's nowhere left to call it into, but they don't tell you that. And I was so used to, restarting a level as soon as I got seen and I knew that I couldn't kill the people in time, that I had to restart a bunch more times than I needed to. It's frustrating. Anyway, when this guy moves over to investigate the plate glass, he comes close enough for a stealth kill, otherwise he's not. Also, that door opens and the machine gun guy comes out whenever his window is broken. Here again, as before, because nobody remembers that I'm here, it's all about the old stealth kills. Notice that they hear the knife kill and they see me, but it's too late by this point. He takes a turn to turn around, which is extremely handy for me, otherwise he would have been on me instantly. And the good old warp knocks everybody down. Honestly, I'm past the hardest part of this level now, which is again the two areas separated by windows. It's just so deadly. I could still kill this guy, but this is riskier, but it does clear that mine out of the way, which is just handy for our eventual escape. You can see the final room coming up here. We're doing really good on time. We're gonna make it, I think. And this part can be really tough. I mean, you notice this hallway here, I'm still having to put down clones and everything, and there's a ton of enemies in that lower room, but for some reason it was just never that tough for me. Now I let the guy in the back completely exhaust his bullet supply, and indeed he's dealt with some permanence there. And as soon as this guy exhausts his store, he only had one stream left. Because he takes 2 turns to get ready, I can deal with that guy with all due finality. People fly at different angles depending on where you hit them, but I've never been able to do it exactly correctly. Alright, watch this because it's cool. Go in and hit him and stab him. That gives you the 3 you need for a warp. Warp up here and knock that guy off. Stab him as he goes down. You have the 2 you need for shurikens, and that's the ball game basically. Now that everybody's down, they take 2 to get up. And that's all you need to deal with the machine gun guard, and there's just these 3 chumps left. You get a warp from all those knocks. There goes the leader, the ringleader, the CEO guy, who's apparently plotting some kind of world takeover. Or was, until we took down his entire organization single-handed. And at half a minute to spare, we are going to make it for sure. So this was Ronin. This was a quick playthrough. I hope you liked it. I hope you have some questions, and I'll talk to you later in the thread.